What is going on, everybody? This is Jamie and welcome to the channel Thrift on Fire. Now, I've been thinking about how to do this video for a while now. I'm gonna call it mostly like a business update or what I'm doing in my business currently. So when I'm filming this, it's October 2024 and I am moving the majority of my business from eBay.ca to eBay.com. It sounds more fancy than it is. I'll explain why I'm doing it in this video. I'll explain what I'm doing with my other platforms like Poshmark Canada, Poshmark US, and Depop, how it affects those, if it affects them at all. What else are we gonna talk about? We're just gonna try to have a conversation. So I don't want this to be informative of me telling you what you should do with your store, because every situation is going to be different, and in most cases probably moving all your items to .com maybe wouldn't be the best thing to do. I'm definitely no expert in this. I'm just giving you my point of view in all this. Hopefully in the comments down below we can have a discussion about what you do, what you think is right for your business, and yeah, maybe we can make a follow-up video with some of those comments. So let's take a visual look here. So this is eBay.ca, the store 654 liquidation. Here's my feedback score. It's 99.3 currently. You know, I've got a couple negatives on there. I don't love that, but that's the way it is. And it's got all my feedback and everything like that. If I go to .com, it looks the same. I have the same feedback score, the same name. You actually sign into ebay.com using the same credentials for ebay.ca. So your same username, same password. The big difference, you know, there's a lot of differences, but the big difference is everything's going to be in US dollars. So aside from ebay.ca or ebay.com, if we're just talking about Canada and the US, Canada has about 38 million people. This is as of July 2027. So these numbers could be a little different depending on when you're watching this. And they're not exact numbers precisely how many people, but in the US, it looks like there's about 330 million people in the US alone. So think about how much bigger the US is than Canada. If you're looking on .com, I believe when you're a Canadian seller, I think it shows you in US currency still, but there's all kinds of variables in there that can make it messy. One of the things is the conversion from the Canadian to the US dollar. And I've also heard people say if you get paid on .com, sometimes the conversion back to Canadian cannot be exactly what the value is of conversion at the moment, right? So like what our dollar's worth at the moment. So I don't know too much about that. When I look at how eBay's valuing my listings, it seems okay to me. When it's usually, it might be off by a nickel, a dime, a dollar here and there, but it's not crazy, okay? The other thing is our dollar fluctuates up and down like crazy. If you have watched the stock market, you would see that. So does the US dollar, but when you're listing in US dollars, I think it's a little bit more stable because the majority of the listings on eBay already are in US dollars. Now, I think this might be a big factor for a lot of people, okay? If you list on ebay.com, your shipping labels through eBay are now all gonna be United States Postal Service, I believe FedEx, and a couple other courier services like that. You will no longer have access to Canada Post labels. Now, I could be wrong about that. Maybe there's a loophole that I don't know about, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. If there's a loophole, let me know in the comments below. I will happily correct myself later in a future video, but I don't think there is. I think you're gonna have to either rely on a cross-border shipper. I use Stallion Express, or you could buy labels directly through Canada Post, but not at the post office. You're going to want to do this online, and you're going to get yourself a little business card for free. I think it's like business or solutions for small businesses. You get a discount, and the more you ship with Canada Post, the cheaper it gets. But honestly, you're not going to get much cheaper than some sort of service like Stallion Express or Chit Chats or one of these companies. With Stallion Express, I'm able to get cross-border shipping and use United States Postal Service labels, and basically get big discounts. I can also ship with Canada Post with big discounts and couriers within Canada using big discounts. So if you don't have access to any of this stuff, it's gonna make it a little harder to wanna make that jump to .com. Now, a suggestion I had from a friend, I was talking about the idea of moving all my stuff to .com, and they said, hey, you don't have to like delist everything and move it over that way. You could just start listing on .com. You can have items on both. There are lots of people who sell on both ebay.ca and .com, and that's a really good thing to know. If there's something in particular you want to list on .com, you can just list it on .com. Now, I have quite a bit of inventory in here at the moment. And I haven't went through this inventory and deep dived it in well over a year. So that's kind of why I'm just moving everything, right? That doesn't mean that you have to move all of your inventory from one to another. You can just list what you want on .com versus .ca. That's totally fine, and lots of people do that. I just need to go through this stuff because there's lots of stuff that's been here too long, and when I reprice it, it sells. So I'm selling old items. I probably have stuff here that just shouldn't be here that I'll delist and donate. You know, we all pick up stuff that either seemed good at the moment, maybe it was trendy and it's not anymore. There's all kinds of reasons why you might have stuff sticking around way too long. But for me, this is a good opportunity to go through my entire store and move it to .com. Now, one thing I noticed for sure when I started cross-listing some of this stuff, so basically this is the process. I go to eBay.ca, delist my item, okay? I recomp it on eBay.com using my computer. Most of this has to be done on PC. Some of it can be done on the mobile app, but it's really a lot easier to do it on web browser, to be honest, especially when you're trying to go from one to the other. I use this plugin called Crosslist Magic that allows me to take my listing and cross-list it, you know, basically just using what is it called? A browser extension in Chrome, okay? I do pay for that as well. This is in no way sponsored whatsoever by them, but it's called Crosslist Magic. You can check it out. It's excellent in my opinion. It's simple and it works. Okay, so essentially one of the things I have found, so I will take my item, I'll delist it across the other platforms, right? Like, so I'm selling on Depop, Poshmark.com, Poshmark.ca. I've noticed Poshmark.com and Depop, which are both listed in US dollars as well. Those ones seem to be way too high. Poshmark.com, not too terrible. I don't know if that has to do with, I don't know why I listed it higher. It could have been the dollar at the time. It could have just been some sort of logic I was using, but most of them are listed too high. And I've noticed on a lot of my US items when I'm going to Poshmark.com, and like I said, Depop, those items are actually selling when I'm relisting them right now. So when I'm going through my closet, you know, I was expecting eBay to really blow up and do well for me, but it's actually been Depop and Poshmark.com that has been doing much better, and that's because I've been changing my price to a more realistic price on those platforms as well. So I've actually recorded this clip a few times because I want to make sure that I say this the way that I mean it, I guess, okay? Why am I doing this? Well, the biggest reason is I want to be part of the majority. And in North America, the biggest majority is US sellers, okay? So essentially when I sell something online, I'm using a cross-border shipper. So as far as somebody from the US knows, I'm using United States Postal Service and shipping from New York, even though I'm dropping things off in either London, Ontario, or shipping them to a Stallion drop-off. So to them, they're seeing that I'm shipping with the United States Postal Service for the most part, and they're getting a really good rate, and I have good feedback, and they can trust me. As far as Canadians go, I have a policy set up where they're basically paying, I just call it international shipping, but in most cases they're getting Canada Post or a courier service for the same low price. I just believe it probably looks like, and I'll try to look down below and throw it up what it looks like, but I think it always shows that my shipments now on .com anyway come from New York. So that's what I'll be doing the rest of the month, really, for sure. The rest of October I'll be delisting, relisting items, moving them from eBay.ca to .com, repricing them on other platforms that I sell on. And honestly, I've been selling a lot of old stuff. If you've been watching my What Sold videos, most of the stuff that's sold is not new items. You know, there are new items that I've picked up and sold right away, and that's always great, but I'm not really even sourcing a ton right now. I'm trying to get through all my inventory. It's going to take me a while. I am dedicated to do it. Is it going to pay off long term? I guess I think it will. I don't know that I'll really see, you know, the benefit of it too much until I'm listing new items all the time, because I am still relisting old inventory. And when I'm mixing in new inventory, the items are selling as well. I have noticed that I had an uptick anyway in eBay sales recently. But you know, all sorts of things happened before I started doing this. So I was on vacation mode a couple of times. So just recently, and then, you know, a month back prior to that, I think I was off for a few days as well. So I've had some downtime in my store. So it's really hard to tell if just consistency is paying off or moving stuff around, but definitely repricing stuff is paying off big time. I've had stuff priced too high for a little while for sure. So that'll definitely help. I've just made some more sales. I'm going to actually close this out, and I'm going to start filming my What Sold video for the end of the week. But you know, probably not super detailed about you know, a lot of things for .com versus .ca, but let me know in the comments below. Let's have a conversation about it, because I don't really want to like lead you down the wrong path or tell you things that I don't know, because I'm just very new in this, new in eBay.com anyway. Even though it's basically the same thing, you know, I'm too new to tell you what to do about it. So mostly, like I said, mostly at the beginning of this video, this is just sort of what I'm doing in my business. This is where my business is going. And, you know, I'd like to know where your business is going too. If you made it this far in the video, thank you guys so much. If you like videos like this, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content. We'll see you guys soon.